Hello, guys. How are you today? We are going to talk about the imperfect tense. It's another form of the past tense. Um, so let's talk about imperfect and preterite a little bit. What is the difference? Well, the past tense has two different tenses. The preterite is the specific actions that you completed in the past that has a specific time that you can actually narrow it down to one thing, one event that happens. For example, the news that you heard, they have a specific data that provides a fact. So things that happen one time. Yesterday at 5 o'clock, there was a car accident in I-95. That it has an event. That event has a specific time and it has a specific day. Therefore, you use the preterite. Now, when we use the imperfect, it's the opposite. It's an event that happened in the past, maybe more than once, and you don't have the time because you simply don't know exactly when it happened. So the imperfect is used to express things such as those. Remember when you used to be a kid and you used to ride your bike? How many times that happened? More than once? Yes. Do you remember exactly when? Probably not, because this happens more than once, was events. So therefore you're using the imperfect. Um, right here, if you look at here, it says the English grammar connection, okay? This is from your textbook. You can find this information in your textbook. There are ways than other than the simpler past tense I studied, which is the preterite, to say that something happened. You can also say I used to study, or I was studying something that was going on at that time. In Spanish, these ideas are expressed by the imperfect. So when you don't know exactly when it happened, you use the imperfect. When to express things that happen more than once, you use the imperfect. So let's look at the imperfect and other past tenses in Spanish. How do we use it? We use the imperfect to describe something that was not perfected or not completed in the past. You use it to talk about something that was happening. I was playing basketball last night. When it happened? Well, sometime last night. So you don't have a specific time. Therefore, you use the imperfect. Talk about something you used to do. I used to ride my bike in the park. This probably happened more than once, right? You don't know exactly when, but it happened. So to describe that, something that you used to do. Say how old someone was. Well, when you're expressing age, that's the only time that you can use. And when you're expressing time, what time it was, you use the imperfect. Okay. I was little. I was chubby. I was tall. Or it was 5 o'clock. It was 10 o'clock. Then you use the imperfect. So let's look at the regular verbs of the imperfect tense. So if you remember conjugating, you know that you have your stem, the beginning of the word, and at the end you have the ending. You will always have to remember the endings. Now with regular verbs, you don't have to do anything to the stem, to the beginning of it. For example, estar is the verb to be, hacer is the verb to do, salir is the verb to exit. Estar is an AR verb. Notice that the AR right here, you will have to eliminate that to conjugate it based on who's doing the action. Hacer. Hacer, ER verb right here is to do. The ER goes away. That's the ending. And you put the ending that belongs to the person who's doing the action. Salir is an IR verb. Same thing. You get rid of IR, which is the ending, and you put the correct ending for each person that is completing this action. Now, what you need to remember is that yo, usted, él, ella have the same form of the verb. It's exactly the same form. So remember this. All verbs that end with AR, like estar, hablar, caminar, cantar, all of those In the imperfect tense, they're going to be aba. They're going to have the aba. So you're going to call them the blah, blah, blah verbs if you like. Okay? That's how I remember. Aba. So you get rid of the AR and you put aba for yo. Estaba. I used to be. That's how it translates. Tú estabas. Notice that there is an S, right? Including in the two. Always will be an S. Tú estabas. You used to be. Usted, él, ella, and usted have the same ending as yo. Notice that right here. Él, ella, and usted and yo have the same ending. Aba. So, él estaba, ella estaba, usted estaba. So, how can you tell? Well, you will need to include the name of the person that used to be doing the action or the pronoun. Él, ella, usted, or yo. Nosotros, habamos is the ending. Estábamos. Estábamos. We used to be. Vosotros, habáis is the ending. Estabais. Ustedes, ellos, and ellas, the ending is haban. Estaban. No Esteban, the guy, but estaban. They used to be. So all AR verbs that are regular verbs are aba verbs, okay? For example, if you say, I used to walk. How do you say walk? Correct. Caminar. So you get rid of the AR and say, yo caminaba. Yo caminaba. Tú caminabas. Él caminaba. Ella caminaba. Usted caminaba. Nosotros caminábamos. Vosotros caminabais. Usted, él, ella, and usted caminaban. Now, this is true for all regular verbs that end with AR. That is the imperfect. Now, ER verbs and IR verbs, they share the same endings. We're going to call them the IA verb, like a Kia. Okay? Like a tortilla. IA. IA, IA, O. Hacer is to do. So you got to keep the stem of hacer. You're going to get rid of ER and you're going to put the endings that belong to each pronoun. For yo is ia. So you will say hacía. But remember that the letter H is silent in Spanish. You never pronounce it. Hacía. Tú hacías. Ias is the ending. Notice that there's always an S involved when you're referring to two. S. Hacías. Él, ella, and usted, and the yo is the same ending. Remember, they share the ending. Ia, and ia and the yo is also ia for usted, él, and ella. How can you tell then? Well, you have to include the pronoun. You have to include the name of the person who's doing it. Hacía. Nosotros, the ending for nosotros is íamos. There's an I in there. Íamos. With an accent. Notice that all of them have an accent on the letter I. Íamos. Hacíamos. Vosotros, the ending is íais. Hacíais. Ellos, ellas, and ustedes, ian. When you refer to ustedes, ellos, and ellas, there will always be an N involved in any form of the verb. Just like for two, there's always an S involved. So, I told you that ER and IR verbs in the imperfect first tense share the same endings. As you can see, they are the same. Salir is to exit. So how would you say I used to exit? Or I went out. Salía. Salías. You used to exit. Salía. It's the same ending for yo. Notice that? Salíamos. We used to exit. Salíais. vosotros, using the vosotros form, and they exit, or they used to exit, salían. Okay, so these are the verbs, the regular verbs. What you gotta remember is that in the yo, and usted, él, and ella, they share the same endings. For AR verbs will be aba. For ER verbs will be ia. Ia for IR verbs as well. And notice en usted, él, and ella also share the same endings here. Just remember that. Now, let's put these rules in context. Let's use them in context. He was here when I was making the cake. When was that? Well, sometime in the past, right? I was here when he was making the cake. When I was making the cake, I'm sorry. So, él is he. Estaba, which is just was here. But why did we use estaba? Because we didn't know exactly when, right? So, estaba aquí, here. Cuando, when. Yo, I was making, when I was making the cake. Notice that this is an action that was going on in the past, but we didn't know exactly when. That's why we used the imperfect. Hacía. Él estaba aquí cuando yo hacía el pastel. Please don't make the mistake, though, to mix the endings. Aba only go with AR verbs, and ia only go with ER and IR verbs. The good thing about the imperfect is that there's only 3 verbs that are irregular. Those are the verb ser, which is to be, but is the more permanent, the verb ir, to go, and the verb ver. Those are the only 3 that are imperfect, that have their own conjugation in the imperfect tense. So, for example, ser will be era, yo era, I used to be. Tú eras, he used to be. Él, ella, and usted era, again, they share the same endings in él, ella, and usted, and in the yo form, they share the same endings, as you can see. Éramos, we used to be. Erais, vosotros, you used to be. And eran, they used to be. You use this when you're referring to how you used to be as a person. I used to be small, I used to be chubby, okay? Yo era niña, yo era gordito, yo era alto. You also you use era when you're referring to time. Eran las 5 de la tarde. Eran las 12 de la noche. Era, when referring to time, okay? The verb ir, we use it when we express where we used to go. I used to go to the mall when it was open, remember? This old time before COVID. Yo iba. Ibas, tú ibas. Él iba al mall. Remember, the endings are the same. Íbamos, we used to go. Ibais, vosotros used to go. And iban, they used to go. These are verbs these conjugations you must remember. And the verb ver is veía, I used to see. Veías, you used to see. Veía is the same ending as in yo form, él, ella, and usted. He or she, or usted used to go. Veíamos, we used to go. Veías, using the vosotros form, you used to see. Veían, they used to see. Notice, when I was little, we used to go to the beach. Cuando yo era niña, because you're referring about when you used to be a little kid, right? Íbamos a la playa. We used to go. The verb íbamos. We used to go to the beach. So, in conclusion, the imperfect is used to talk about something that happened, that was happening in the past, that you don't have a specific time. Talk about something you used to do. Say how old someone was or how old you were, and to express what time it was. So we are going to do some expressions. We're going to do a little bit of practice. Please use these endings to do your practice. And I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.